And there we are, live on YouTube. Sorah Dubitsky. This mic is all yours, and I do have your book. I can show it to the group when you mention it.
Ta-da!
All right. And there we are, live on YouTube. Sorah Dubitsky.
Yeah, so what do we have? A half hour about, half hour left?
Yeah, about 30 minutes. Yeah,
About 30 minutes.
25.
So it's really awesome to be here. I hope everyone whose name I see or avatar picture I see is actually here because it's nice to have an energy exchange. So, okay, Glorianne is here. Cool. Um, so Marshall Rosenberg, nonviolent communication had a tremendous impact and still has a tremendous impact on my life. It came, I was married to, some of you have heard of my husband, some of you have not heard of my husband. Larry Dubitsky was, a course teacher, uh, artist, brilliant, my holy relationship. And of course, we had to learn how to create a holy relationship. Um, but his daughter had given him a set of tapes by Marshall Rosenberg on nonviolent communication. And I came back from Florida, not Florida, I was in New York, and I came back to Florida. And it was a terrible time in New York. I had a sister of blessed memory, and we just fought the whole time. It was just horrible. And I was so and I don't know if you've ever been incensed. I was so incensed. Got home, told Larry and had all these stories, and then used the nonviolent communication process to heal the relationship with my sister. And I used it in my marriage to Larry. We had vowed to get together to have a holy relationship. And we did. By the time he passed, yeah, we definitely had a holy relationship. And it was nonviolent communication that many times that really saved us. That made us do what the course says, which is to turn within first. And that, I could say that's what this whole 75-page book is about. It's a mini book. It's about turning within first, turning to God, making the connection. One of my essays in the book, the series of essays, is about only like 15 or 16. And one of the essays which could be a theme of the book, is 1 + 1 = 3. And what does that mean? Everybody knows 1 + 1 is 2. But 1 + 1 = 3 means that we create with every relationship between two people, 1 + 1, we create a third entity, which is the relationship itself. And for Larry and I, and for spiritual students, that third entity is where spirit resides. It could be the third entity, could be Jesus, God, um, whatever, Moses, Buddha, masters. But I think of it more as, the Holy Spirit, divine inspiration. And that is what is between us, and that's what um, John Marshall. Um, that's what nonviolent communication really is. It facilitates a process of going within going to God. I mean, think about it. When I use the process, the first thing I ask myself is, okay, what do I really need here? You know, what, I had some funny stories with that. One funny story, and I hope I don't lose my train of thought, but one funny story. Larry, my miracles partner, wanted to go to Italy with his daughter, and I couldn't go, and and I was jealous, and brought up all this stuff about he loves his daughter better than me, and I watched the thoughts, that's a course process. I watched the thoughts. So I prayed, which is that's the other thing about a holy relationship or a nonviolent communication process. It gives you that time to pause and think. I use prayer as what I think is going on. I don't, I think if anybody authentically wants to connect, they can use anything, any process. But for me, it was prayer. I'd pray. And then, so this with this Italy thing, he wanted to go. I was jealous. So I prayed. And what came to me was that, um, my core, what I prayed for was, okay, what's the core issue? Core issue. Got to get rid of this. This needs healing. So what came to me was this idea that the core issue was abandonment. I had abandonment issues. It's like, oh, I never knew I had abandonment issues. So then I asked for more clarification, and I looked at it. And then what occurred is, well, the course promises that I can't be abandoned by God. Okay. Next step, next level, can't be abandoned by God. So then I still wasn't comfortable. I still was not at peace. And what is that, Dove? Are you really here? Wow. So, hi, nice, nice. So I wasn't really at peace. So I prayed, prayed some more. And I was driving. I was teaching at the time, and I was driving. It was in the evening, Florida Turnpike. And again, my inner dialogue, and the dialogue was, I'm still feeling jealous. And I need something else. You got to give me something that's going to make me feel not lonely while Larry's away in Italy. So I couldn't change him, that was not a relationship. I wasn't going to try to change him from going to Italy. Of course I tried. Sorry, I lied. Um, but I realized I couldn't, he needed to do what he needed to do. So, it was, and it was all about, working on myself, looking at my ego, looking at what my core fears. Yeah, I was looking at the text today, and the section the sections I was looking for were the ones that talk about, the law of seeing. You look within first. So I had this dialogue in my car, and I'm gonna need something, and very still feeling very disconnected, and I'm jealous. And then what happened? I'm driving, and I'm like, okay, I need something to make me feel better and not lonely. And the thought came into my head, get kittens. Okay. So I got kittens, and it was really beautiful. I like, wow, that really makes sense. Some coincidentally, somebody I knew had a litter, and blah blah blah, and I and Larry came with me, and we picked out two kittens, and I wasn't lonely. He went off to Italy, and I had my kittens. And I guess, what's my point is I had to go within first. And the nonviolent communication of processing through with him, and, or where I started with is asking that core question. The nonviolent communication makes us ask is, okay, or the way I use the process is, what's my need? What is my core need? And how does either having that need or not having that need make me feel? And so I think I have it in this book, and I'm really proud of this. This added a few years to my life. No, actually, did deducted a few years. But here, practice listening for connection, which kind of is part of the conversation we're having now. Um, Lynn, tell me when you want me to stop. Okay, just we're done, and that's fine. So here, practice listening for connection. Next time you're in conversation with someone you care about, whether a partner, friend, a family member, try this. Pause and ask yourself, are they asking for advice or simply to be heard? If they just need space, offer something simple like, that sounds hard. I hear you. I get why you'd feel that way. Step three, resist the urge to fix instead of recognize their experience. Being heard is a basic human need, just like being seen, understood. One of the things I talk about is this idea of presence. And what does that mean? So it's called intimacy, and this idea of presence is being here now, fully, completely, one with, the Lord make me, what was the old joke? Oh, the Buddha. Buddha asks the hot dog vendor, or tells the hot dog vendor to make me one with everything. Of course, it was a tofu hot dog. So that idea of oneness and connection is comes about by just being present. And whether, I teach sex education, which that's like a whole story. But whether you're having sex with someone or just talking to someone, however you're connecting, are you fully present? And since some of this is about sex, not most of it is not. It's really about spirit. Um, but if you've ever had the experience in sex, if your mind is on what should I cook for dinner tonight, it doesn't matter what your body is doing. The body is just maybe responding to a reflex, maybe needs a release. I mean, there are a lot of motivations about why people have sex, but the intimacy part is really being fully present. And I'm an energy healer. So I feel and I feel people's energy. And but I also think that anyone can develop that. It's just a degree of sensitivity. And I think that anybody can develop that sensitivity, being fully present. And I hope that makes sense. And that's, so when I talk about intimacy and the sacred space between us, That's really what I'm talking about is presence and being fully and completely one with everyone and using, that's when I started developing the I don't know what word to use. You become really sensitive. And any of you who've had that experience, know what I'm talking about, that you're fully present here and now. And whoever you're with, you don't need to know what they're going through. And if you're having sex, you know what that person needs. And because you're on that same frequency as they are. So, comments, questions, time, how we doing?
You got about 10 more minutes. Rico's asking
Wow.
the name of the book. I'll put the book up on the screen so people can
Okay,
see.
that would be sweet. But are there any comments, questions? I'll read, I could read a little bit of it, or just have, what does intimacy have to do with the course? Because the course kind of, we rise above all worldly stuff. And from my understanding, and what I've read in the course, Jesus was not fond of having sex. There's some passages where he's like, he was talking to Helen about it, and Bill was going through something. Those of you who know, who these people are. Um, I don't know, but if you don't, let me know, and I will tell you who they are. Um, thank you. That's very sweet. Where did you get that, by the way? Yes, it's
It's on
definitely.
Kindle. I
Say that
bought it.
again.
I bought it on Kindle.
Oh, yay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
People have been people have been reading it that and they've given me feedback that I did not expect. It was one woman said, well, come, that they're based on my Substack essays, so I've been posting one a week. So um, one woman who read some of the essays said she cried when she read. She and like, well, that's deep. That's deep. And then someone else, there's a number of Orthodox women who live here in Century Village. They go to the gym. My gym friends. And one of them just remarked how beautiful it was, and it was like opening up a portal, and it could have been derived from the Torah. Like, whoa, all I did was listen to the voice. It's been a journey, and I appreciate your showing some of it. Um, so what else? So the importance of nonviolent communication, I'm summing up. Um, how the course and um, nonviolent communication can get us to what the core needs are and what the core issues are. I mean, when I work with people, and that's kind of the first thing I go for. Let's start at what's the core. It saves a lot of time. uh, Trivia, and just really focus on the core, and then that takes me to where what I was talking about before. In intimacy, presence, being fully here now, and I've been practicing that, and it feels in its own way expansive and very grounded. yeah, when whatever is going on, it definitely feels grounded, and just and keeping the channels open is something else that's important. And what I mean, connecting, staying connected. And that's what presence is to me, staying connected. Um, Again, comments, questions. I feel like I'm a mess. Like, oh, I didn't put on makeup and blah. Yes, go ahead, my friend David. Of how many years? 40 years, 50, but what's time?
Yeah, I sure love. You mentioned the four core issues. Can you mention them?
Oh, I don't know if I put in a number, but the core issues would be similar to what nonviolent communication says about neediness. Well, let's see. In the book, um, I talk about the principles of intimacy, and the first principle of intimacy is trust. Right. It's like, where have I read that before? So I have trust and authenticity and vulnerability and like seven. Um, and the core, like I didn't know I had a core issue of abandonment. That just and what does abandonment mean? Separation from source. So you could say, the core issue is, how am I separating myself from source right now? Or how am I disconnecting right now? Or what is my core fear? And it will be revealed. Yeah, and maybe even then you think you heal it once and maybe it'll even come back. So I don't think I specified a number of core issues, but if we go to um, the principles of intimacy that I came up with, yeah, trust is number one. And I find what's interesting, what's coming to me. So I teach a class in sex education, and we just had um, a class. Oh, did I lose my train of thought? Um, Yes. Okay. So, it's very interactive. I'm doing it remotely, and, ooh, but once a week I do a Zoom session. And the last Zoom session, it was about adult sexuality, whatever that means. And, the question was, what practices or behaviors, thank you, what practices or behaviors do you need to cultivate um, to have a long-lasting relationship? And these are Gen Z, a lot of them somewhere around 20, give or take a few years. I have one student who's 47. But most of them are somewhere around 20. So the core issues, what are the core issues? Or core behaviors that you need to cultivate in order to have a long-lasting relationship? So number one was communication, which is why NVC is so important. And I stress that when I teach. You're like, okay, communication is important, but what about having effective communication? So we talk about that. But number two, it was exactly what we're talking about, trust. Trust is the key to even being able to be intimate. Trust is the number one characteristic of a teacher of God in the course. But what is it we're trusting? And it's trusting, the Spirit. It's trusting Holy Spirit or Jesus or God. But it just kind of floored me that the students, that's what they think, Gen Z. And then the third thing was respect. So communication, trust, respect. And a lot of them have already been in relationships. But I just find that so fascinating because trust, when I was thinking about that section, practice non-sexual touching. That looks interesting. I haven't even had a chance to kind of go through this. Um, but okay, love is a spiritual journey. Wow. Let's see. The principles of intimacy. Lynn put that up before. So trust is the foundation. You can't be intimate with someone, or you can try to be intimate. But something I stress, and I think even Marshall Rosenberg talks about this, communication is something that's given and received. And that's so important because sometimes, well, we communicate. I talk to him or her. Yeah, we talk. But unless that whatever it is you're saying is received and processed and enables an enhanced connection, then you're not communicating. And so that's really important. And trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship. Without trust, it means difficult to feel truly close to someone. Building trust requires authenticity, transparency, and consistent behavior. Over time, many of us have scars from the past for having trusted and been hurt. I talk about authenticity, I talk about communication, emotional connection. Let's see, I thought one of these somewhere. Yes, there it is, number 3, vulnerability. Again, whether it's sex or whether it's anything, to be really intimate means opening yourself up. And again, in sexual relationships, without that openness, you're really it's like filling a glass half empty. You can't get the full experience because it's like part of you's choked off if you can't be vulnerable. You can't, sex is or orgasm or climate is all about release. Can't release if you're not willing to be vulnerable. I was thinking about that earlier. And authentic, if we're talking about sex, if you're in bed, I mean, sex can be messy. Bodies thrashing about. I actually make fun of it, but okay. Um, but it can be messy. But again, without being messy, and you never know what's going to happen. Like people grunt and groan and moan and do all crazy things. And without being authentic or vulnerable, you can't let go enough to even enjoy it. When I teach, I'm going to come across all this data about women especially not being satisfied. There's an orgasm gap, in case you didn't know that. So that's important. Emotional connection is important. Empathy, feeling what somebody else is feeling. And again, even if it's in sex or not in sex, and that comes about by presence and shared experiences. you know, been there, done that, so you understand if someone is telling you their story, whatever the story is, you know, you understand it. Okay, what do you think? Any
I think, yeah,
time?
it's probably about
Comments,
time. Yeah.
questions?
We've been going about 30 minutes, and that's good. And I'm really, really grateful that you came in. I'm looking forward to, 'cause I do have your book. I'm looking forward to reading the book, and thank
It's
you
a
so much.
short read,
Yeah.
trust me.
So, and does anybody have anything they'd like to say to Dr. Sorah? Um, Sorah's
Yeah.
on every Tuesday afternoon. So, but 2 o'clock, are you?
2:30 after Myrna and Susan.
Yeah.
Myrna Scholar and Susan Michelle. I had
So,
lunch with Myrna. We got
oh, how
together.
nice. Isn't she delightful?
Yes, Myrna's delightful.
She is
Yes.
delightful. Rico, did you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you. And the book perks my interest. I shall get to Amazon as soon as we get off this call. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. You know, I hope I'm just here to be truly helpful. And this came, there were times when you know the writing, even now, when the writing just comes and it feels like I'm a messenger of something. Yeah, I do my best, you know, ego is not in the way, and just listen. And sometimes I feel so grateful, you know, that what is coming to me is sometimes beautiful, so poetic. So I'm grateful. And where, you know, where it goes, nobody knows. And but we'll see. We'll see what, you know, what God has in mind.
Absolutely. We'll always be surprised. All right, you
Thank you.
guys, I love you all.
Lynn, before you
Yes.
go, was that 2:30 Eastern time?
Let me look here really quick at the schedule because I want to make really sure all my times I'll give you are Eastern times.
Yes, it's 2:30 Eastern time, yes.
Yeah, 2:30
Yes,
Eastern.
it's two
Yeah,
thirty Eastern time. And tomorrow I'm gonna
Thank you.
be talking about looking within.
very cool. Very cool. All
Yes.
right. Looking forward to
I
that.
do my best.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right. Bye, David. Love
Love you
you.
all. Good
Bye,
night.
Lynn. Love you.
Love you
Bye,
too.
everybody. Elizabeth and Lynn and Sharon and Robert. Amen. Thank you, guys.
Oh, it was perfect. All right, you guys.
And
Love you all.
Mickey. Yay, Mickey.
Yeah, Mickey's there too.
It's a real person,
Yeah,
Mickey. I
yeah,
usually
yeah.
see your avatar picture. So, and I do love your classes and your wonderful channel. So I appreciate it. Thank you for sitting in on this time.
All right, you guys. Love you all. Good night. We'll see you in the morning.